welcome back to Studio 44 and our show Underdogs. Super excited today to be talking with Joel Hickman with JNS Pressure Washing. Joel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here, having the opportunity.
I've been waiting a long time to be able to get you in that seat to just get to learn more about you. So many people, they think they know us, but they don't really know us at our core, and they don't know kind of our story. Yeah. So I like to go all the way back, okay? We'll go back as far as you can remember, or even some that you don't.
All right.
Where were you born?
So I was born in Abingdon, Virginia, and we moved down here at the age of 3 against my will to Ocala, Florida. Been here ever since.
At 3 years old, but against your will. Yeah. I love that. When I was in fourth grade, I was going into fourth. I didn't want to move to Missouri, and we were at my grandma's house, and I handcuffed myself with those little plastic handcuffs to the bottom of her bed, the bedroll, and they just lifted the bedroll, and it came off. So I get it. Against your will at 3. So you've lived here a while then,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So what was growing up in Ocala like?
So we grew up out in the northwest side of Ocala Park Estates. And a real kind of small community out there. Kind of went to school with everybody, played with everybody. It was fun. We kind of lived in our own little neighborhood, so we played a lot of like manhunt, late nights, just having fun, getting in trouble, riding our bikes for 5 miles, just when we're supposed to be hanging out with friends or whatever at their house. But it was good.
I love that, hanging out with friends in air quotes, because I know what that means. We used to ride our bikes and skate. Like, we would rollerblade around town. Like, you don't see that much anymore. You don't see kids just rollerblading or just riding bikes, like a group of kids. Now you see everybody on dirt bikes and four-wheelers.
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
And still around town on dirt bikes and four-wheelers.
Right in town. So let's talk about that, like that growing up part. Like, what was your favorite part about, let's say, middle and high school? Like, what was your favorite part and what was your worst part?
Oh, man. Middle part was probably coming home and playing baseball and just like the sports at home with the kids in the neighborhood. Had some real close friends growing up. So it was real good. Just looking forward to that every day and just kind of being able to do those things as a kid. My worst time was the first day of school to 8th grade. I got some clothes from friends in the neighborhood, and they were twins, boy and girl. So in the pile of clothes was this really nice pair of jeans, button up on the front, fit me so perfect. They ended up being bongos. So show up to 8th grade, first day. From that time on, bongo boy. And man, let me tell you, that ruined me.
Yeah.
I get hurt.
First day of 8th grade, bongo jeans.
Yeah. But they look so good, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Had the front tucked and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They fit good. I think the button-up should have gave it away, but
Thought they were designer.
Designer jeans. What color were they?
They were blue jeans.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I mean, bongo, they experimented with some color palette. So,
yeah.
I mean, I've seen yellow and pink and teal. Like, bongo just went all over the rainbow. So, 8th grade bongo boy. Yeah. So we're learning new stuff already, because I did not know that story. So if 8th grade started like that, what was high school like?
High school, that followed me through. I played sports in high school, played baseball. I had really good opportunity there. It was fun to play, but just that bongo boy followed me. So kind of kept to myself through those grades. But I just hung out with a real small few people. But school was still fun. I did real good in school. So
now baseball. Mm-hmm. Now, was that your predominant sport? Like, that was the big one. What position did you play?
So best position ever was second base. But I had a real good coach growing up, because I didn't really start playing organized ball till I was 12. Coach Cecil out of Anthony, and he used to play minor league ball. And he's like, Joel, he's like, I've seen you never played before, so I'm going to teach you everything there is to play. So I could play every position, catcher, third base, first base, everything, real well. Thanks to him.
That's exciting, because I loved baseball when I was little. And I wanted to be a pitcher. Everybody wants to be the pitcher, right? And I wanted to play left field. So I got to pitch one day in practice, and I threw hard, but I did not throw straight. Like I have beamed some people.
Yeah.
Okay, I have really whacked some people. Like it's not good. And then I wanted left field because I was fast, but my hand-eye foot coordination wasn't perfect. I mean, we're talking like middle school ball, so you can't hate me too much. Put me in right field. Now, nothing against right field players. If that's what you're out there playing, then cool. Not a lot of balls go to you in right field, and that's what I learned. I didn't know that because it was my first year playing. They got me. I'm sitting over in right field twiddling my thumbs.
But right field is the player with the strongest arm because they're the only player that has to throw to every base.
Now, let's talk about that because my claim to fame at Ward Highlands Elementary Field was just a line drive out to right field, hits the fence. I'm running, grabbed the ball, threw it all the way to third from the right field fence, and got the kid out.
Yeah.
My best throw ever. Maybe
like a pea.
You just changed the trajectory of my thinking. Like maybe they did put me in right field because I had a good arm.
I know a thing or two about baseball.
Yeah, I mean it was that 60 feet to home plate. That was my issue. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like
See, and that was my problem too. I was slow. I was as slow as a turtle, but I could play. So
yeah,
kind of offset itself.
So tell me about your best play ever. We all have that story. What's that one that you've told everybody?
I was a catcher, and we were playing interlocking, and I hosed a kid out at second from my knees. So like that was like had it there on a rod, man.
That's not an easy throw.
No.
Especially because you don't have a lot of time. As a catcher, you're already down.
Right.
But to throw that hard, that fast, that accurate from your knees all the way to second, that's a good one. So what happens, after high school?
So high school, well, let's go middle of high school. My parents got divorced, and so that was like my junior, senior year. So kind of took a hit on me. Started getting in a little bit of trouble after graduating. Kind of doing my own thing a little bit there. We grew up in a very good household, very structured household. But during that time after leaving is when I kind of began to go out a little bit and start exploring some things that I couldn't or wasn't able to in my teens, I guess.
Now, when you say exploring, let's talk about that. What kind of trouble did we get into?
So I got into riding motorcycles and just riding fast, because it was something I loved, the excitement, fast cars, motorcycles. And so it was the cool thing to go out and just rip a wheelie down 40, 326, go on all the rides. And I kind of made a name for myself as the crazy stunt rider guy, with some others that were in the area. So for like 4 or 5 years, just riding around on the motorcycle in my car, getting pulled over, anything and everything you can think of in a car, what was done and on the motorcycles.
Now, see, I've seen people do wheelies in the street, like in traffic. Were you doing wheelies in traffic?
Oh yeah, yeah. I could go in and out of cars on a wheelie.
I've never liked it, by the way. Like, I mean, it's impressive that you can do the wheelie, but I've always been like, man, that guy's going to kill somebody or that guy's going to get in an accident. And I've had quite a few friends pass away on motorcycles, and that's really affected. Like, I used to love to ride, and it's just put like a little fear in me, after so many times. But tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and so my attitude towards that was, well, I know what I'm doing because I do this all the time. And I actually had a really good friend who was in law enforcement, and he was like, Joel, he's like, what's going to happen one day when you do wreck? Because it's going to happen. Every guy is going to happen. And so one day I did actually have a really bad wreck, and I got airlifted out to Orlando. But I wasn't doing a wheelie at that time. But the wheelies, you lose control, or even just ride normal, and your bike goes out of control. It can hit a car and take somebody out.
So I've seen some pictures and some videos Now, where this stunt riding, like this became like a big part of your life.
Yeah.
When did that come in?
So that was kind of in the works from that beginning when I was doing things in traffic, and then you end up meeting a group of guys that do it. So now we were going out to Marion Oaks every Sunday. At least we were getting away from traffic. We would still do wheelies on the way there, but for hours we would just be out on this road, doing wheelies, burnout, stoppies, all kinds of things, and just practicing. So I got in a little bit of trouble, a lot of trouble with it because of my license, for doing wheelies and things. This reckless driving and the speeding, careless driving and things like that. So after I got out of jail for these things, I was approached, and they were, by a Christian Motorcycle Association group, and they're like, Joel, you have a gift. Why not use it to reach others? So that's kind of where I made the transition to take it off the streets, start going into the juvenile detention centers and prisons and things, and talking with people kind of about making better decisions.
Now, we just brought up the word. You said jail.
Yeah.
So do you mind unwrapping that for us? Like, do you mind sharing, like, what was that experience like? What'd you go to jail for?
So if your license becomes suspended after a third time, you now become habitual. And I've been to court before where I've seen people go to jail their first, for 30 days on their first time driving on a suspended license. I made it through Judge Futch 3 times with only getting like community service or a fine or something. But my 4th and 5th time, when now I'm habitual, they said, okay, something's got to happen, but we're only going to give you community service, because at that time I was looking to go into the military. So that was the 4th and 5th time. 6th and 7th time, still, because I hadn't learned my lessons, I could always pay off a fine or whatever. They said, okay, we've got to do something for you now. So they ended up giving me 9 months in jail.
Like 9 months, like no more community service, like
do not pass go. do not,
like life just stopped.
Yeah,
right at that moment, and you went from court to jail.
I was already in jail because from getting arrested.
Gotcha.
And so they bring me to court, and that's where they did the sentence, and straight back to jail on the bus.
My goodness. Now, did you have an expectation at that court hearing when they brought you from jail to court? Did you think that you were going to just get slapped on the wrist again, go do some community service? Or did you think this is probably that time?
Well, because it had never really happened before, I was thinking that I was going to get let off easily again, because I was very respectful, and just, yes, sir, your honor, no, sir, your honor, and whatnot. But they literally was like, I don't understand how you made it this far and not haven't had anything happen to you. So at that point I was like, okay. So I knew I wasn't getting out there.
What'd it feel like?
It was horrible. One of the life-changing events of that year.
Yeah. Now, I've never they say the only people that haven't went to jail are the ones that didn't get caught. We've all done our fair share, but like, what did that do? Like, what was going on in your life during this time that jail was now imminent?
Well, at that time, my oldest daughter, who's 20, she's actually getting ready to have a birthday in a couple days. She was 3 years old at the time, and me and her mom were separated, and that was a very hard time because I still wasn't grown up to be a father. And me and my ex were going through the separation, but that's really what changed me, because we had the ability to have contact visits at that time. And I'll never forget when she was walking back to her car, because we were outside, and I'm up against the fence, waving to him, and here's my daughter looking back at me and saying, "I love you, Dad." So that's, in that moment, I couldn't do that again to my family, because my parents were coming to see me, my brothers, and just kind of
not only was I in jail, but my family was in jail too.
Just take a second. You know, there's a lot of times in life that we have, whether we like it or not, there's those eye-opening moments. And I would imagine, and all I can do is imagine that feeling right there is what, I mean, did it wake you up? Was it enough?
It was. It was definitely enough to wake me up. And if it would have happened on my first time, it would have never happened again. So I mean, and like I've gotten a speeding ticket since then, and I was just like so worried, like because those feelings and those thoughts start coming back. And even one time, back like 5 years ago, my child support had lapsed, and I had a written agreement with them, and my license was suspended, and it was like by 2 days, and I got pulled over for not having a tag on my trailer, and the deputy was like, "You know your license is suspended, right?" I was like, "No." I'm like, this can't be, and sure enough, but he was just like, "Hey, I see the past. I see how everything's been good." He's like, just go down and take care of it. So I was like, whew.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I was like, here we go again. Because, with that just being 4 or 5 years ago, I've got 4 more daughters at that time that I'm just like, man, I'm getting ready to rip their world apart. Because with my oldest, we don't have a good relationship, or we're trying to rebuild it. But it's just been one of those up and down things.
Life, life's not always fair. And sometimes we don't always make the right choice or the best choice, or, it's always interesting of what brings us back around. The fact that you are trying to rebuild that relationship, that's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy because, as kids, we all have our own levels of resentment. We have our levels of what we can forgive, what we can forget. And I think that, and I really pray this, I really pray this for your family and for you, that you both, your daughter and yourself, find that common bond again.
Yeah.
The one that you start with, because they say the one thing that we get from a child is unconditional love. And we're the only ones that can screw that up, yeah. Right? But that doesn't mean that it doesn't still exist, and it doesn't mean that it can't be rekindled. It's still in there. Like, she still desires that.
Yeah, and wants to have that.
Like that it just takes some time. Time's not going to fix time lost, but time is going to allow you to let that feeling of whatever that felt like at that time kind of dissipate a little bit. And kind of give you a chance to both heal, to forgive, and to eventually, the ultimate goal, to forget that it even happened.
Yeah.
Because you can't get that time back. Mm-hmm. The time's gone. It is what it is. But I know you, as a dad, I mean, there's nothing more that you love than your girls. And that's all of them, not just some of them.
Yeah.
Not just one of them. You love them equally. You show them off. You want to, all we get is the outside looking in.
Right.
So how many girls are in your life? How many, and I mean that by daughters.
Yeah.
So. Like your wife and your daughter. How many girls are you navigating?
So we've got Sarah, my wife, and then Ariel, my oldest, and then Eliana, Elora, Elissa, and Olivia. So I've got 6 girls, then my mom, so I've got a lot of women to look after.
Now, so let's talk about that part a little bit. What happens after you get out? What does life look like once you've exited jail? You've had that wake up call. You got that stinging feeling that you don't ever want to feel again. What does life look like from that point forward?
So that's when I really got heavily invested
with the CMA group, the Christian group, and because people were seeing a change and having the ability to go and especially being able to go to the police department, or like teen court and talk with those teens just about making those decisions, it was kind of showing me that, okay, I can do better with my life and I don't have to do all these things that I was doing in the past to feel full, I guess. So I was an attention seeker, and being able to go out and do these things, it was bringing attention, and it was being able to help. So it was helping me grow, and then also helping others grow. And so it took me 5 years to get my license back because it had been taken, it had been revoked. And when I got it back, weirdly enough, I was able to get a job as a delivery driver. And so I was running Staples orders up and down to all the attorneys and things like that, and being able to do that. So that was good because, here I was able to do something with something that was bad.
Now, doing the different the counseling stuff.
Okay.
Let's talk about that. Where does counseling fit into this part of your life?
So I actually delivered to this place that I had no clue about, and there were people that were dressed like in suits, office clothes, pajamas, scrubs, and I was like, "What is this place?" I'm like, "Oh, this is a treatment center, it's a clinic, and these are counselors and these are patients." And I told the lady, I was like, "Man, I've always wanted to do something like that, to be a counselor." And she's like, "Well, do you have any schooling? Do you have any degrees?" And it's like, no, because I was, I was a mess up. I was told I was literally told I would never amount to anything after getting in all my troubles. So I told her, I was like, "No, I don't have any of those things, but I do volunteer. I volunteer with youth, and I do these things." And she's like, "Well, sometimes the best counselors don't have degrees." And turns out in the state of Florida at that time, you didn't have to have a degree to be like a level 1 counselor. So they ran my background, everything was good. And next thing I know, here I am being hired on as a counselor. So I was able to work at an addictions treatment center.
And what was that like? Like, was it, did you find yourself doing it more for you or more for them?
Starting off, it was for me because I was able to learn some things about myself through treatment plans and things like that we were able to do for the patients. But I was able to see that those treatment plans and things that we were building were helping people move forward in life and to get away from addiction and just some of the things that they were battling. So it was just a good feeling. And I ended up staying as a counselor for 7 years. There were some days it was very stressful because no matter what anybody says, you do end up taking that work home with you. And, because you end up wearing it on your shoulders. At the time, there'd be times where we had like 55 patients on a caseload. And so it was tough.
Now, my wife and me, we talk about this quite a bit. We're both empaths, and she has a degree in psychology. And I just kept thinking to myself, I love helping people, but I kept thinking that if I talk to people that are struggling or dealing with these things, we've all dealt with our own depressions and our own demons. I was always afraid that I would take too much of it home and not be able to function myself. Like you're there to help people, but to be strong enough to help yourself and kind of weave through the good, the bad, the indifferent.
Yeah. And I can see that, my wife says that it changed me, for the worse, from the person that she met, because me, I think that I let it get too much on me. And whenever you would see someone fail or not meet the goals that they had, you wore it on yourself because here you are trying to help that person and get them along to where now you've failed as a person. And so I wasn't ready for that structure of a counseling position.
but I had the opportunity, so I took it, because that's where I needed to be in life in order to really move myself forward.
Do you believe that everything happens for a reason?
Yeah, definitely.
And I look at situations just like that, of when you say I wasn't ready and it changed me or it did this. If you think about it, there's so many times in our life that something will happen and we question it. We just question it right out of the gate. We're wondering, why in the world? Why me? Why this? Why that? Why is it like this? I thought it was going to be like that. And I feel like so many times we limit God in our life by telling him what he's going to do, when he's going to do it,
right?
How he's going to do it. You pray for one level of blessing, and I promise you 9 times out of 10, you're praying too small.
Yeah.
So I think it's absolutely inspiring to see the trajectory of your life. Like, not everybody knows this part. You know what I mean? Not everybody knows the struggle side. They see Joel, the smiling guy. They see Joel, the happy-go-lucky, funny guy. They see the hard-working, persistent, absolutely just engaged Joel, right? When did you decide to start your own company? Because that's a whole different level.
Yeah.
Like, when did you decide that you were going to get into soft washing and pressure washing?
So as a counselor and working with patients, the daily fee for medication was, $17, and it's not a lot, but it is when
it is when you don't have $17.
Yes, and so for some it's a mortgage payment, or rent payment, each month, and so we were trying to figure out how to come up with extra money in order to afford treatment. And I was like, I need extra money. As a counselor, like it paid decent, and it was enough for me and my family. But I was like, I need some extra money because I want to go and do things. I want to be able to have things. So my father is a painter, and he used to oversee the school board. My brother's a painter. Don't ever ask me to paint. I won't paint. But I was like, I've pressure washed, because that was in some of our treatment plans with some of these guys, because of what they were doing. And I was like, man, I can pressure wash. So I started looking on YouTube, and of course, there's all these guys are making thousands of dollars and whatnot. So it's like, man, I can do that. I'd like to make $1,000, or whatever. So I started making my own treatment plan to go outside and work after I would get off from there every day and go to a driveway or a house or something. And so at the point to where I had a month worth of work lined up, is when I gave my 2 weeks. And it took about 2 years to build that business on the side of being a counselor.
Well, now let's talk about the first truck or the first rig that you had, because not everybody starts with $1 million and they can just go buy the best of the best and have all the right equipment for the job. Tell us what the first rig looked like.
Yeah. So my first rig, my father actually had gotten for me. It was just a little pull behind. It was a Honda motor on wheels, with just 50 foot of hose, because that's what the starter kit came with. And that was it, and then I would just throw it in the back of the trunk or in the back of my truck. At that time, I think I had a truck, but I just throw it in there and then go to the next job, unload it off. And those things they're not light. So
what was it like doing jobs with that?
Oh, it sucked. Just imagine pulling around a shopping cart. It's hooked to 2 hoses, and you do one side of the house, and then you pull around to the next one and go to the other. So very fast I learned, okay, I need 200 feet of hose, because I didn't get this fat from not being lazy, so I will figure out the easiest way to do something.
Hey, I like to eat too. Okay. I like to eat. I like my steak. So you learned very quickly the right things that you needed to acquire as soon as possible, because when you're doing a job, it's very easy to have to do that job twice.
Yes.
Or take extra time just to get it near what just having the right equipment would solve.
Right.
So I would imagine some of those first driveways were not
Oh, they were not. They were not JNS.
They were not. They were not.
No.
Oh, did the company have a different name back then?
No. It actually started as JNS, Joel and Sarah. And I
there we
really
go.
didn't put too much thought into that at first, because now I see, and this is not a shout out to other businesses, but I see JNS Lawn Care. I say JNS Shipping, JNS Foods, like anything and everything that's JNS, you see it now. And I'm just like, oh man, but we've been able to build a good name from it, and people know us to where it's like, man, do I change it now? What do I do? You know, so that's coming in the works. So
you do not change it, because it's absolutely perfect. And now that I know that, I've never known that it's Joel and Sarah.
are you serious?
I'm being very serious. I literally just thought JNS.
It's not the alphabet in order.
I didn't know what it was. I just knew that, like, when you want the best, you call JNS. Like, that's just what it is.
Oh man.
Okay, Joel and Sarah. I love that you did the N. That's very 1990s of you. Joel and Sarah, JNS Pressure. That's good. That's good. So now let's graduate to the future.
Okay.
Because now you got jobs left and right. You got commercial jobs. You got big jobs. You have done the most minute job for me, and you have done massive jobs that were 2 stories with all. Let's talk about number 1, what does the rig look like now? Okay. Number 2, talk about your worst job ever.
Oh man. Okay, so my rig now, and a lot of it goes by gallons per minute and PSI and stuff. And everybody thinks that PSI is what does the cleaning. So, you got to have 4,000 PSI. You got to do this. No. I've had rigs that have only had 2,000 PSI that I can clean just as good as a 4,000. But I do have an 8-gallon minute machine. I've got 2 trailers. So they're both set up with hot water, so that way I can do restaurants and things like that with grease and oil. But it's got everything on it that you need, that the industry requires, or that the industry needs in order to tackle any job.
And what is the worst job ever?
So it's this property that I did for Gray Realty.
I didn't know it was going to be that one. Okay, I think I know which one you're talking about. Tell the people.
All right, so I get this call one day. Hey, Joel, man, we got this property that really needs you to go clean up, and it's in
Inglis.
So I was like, man, Daniel, this is a long drive. He's like, oh yeah, it's not bad. You always say it's not bad. I'm
an optimist.
Are we able to put pictures pop up on this?
I'll throw up a pop up for you. Yes.
This thing, I walked into like a Tale from the Crypt type thing. There was spider webs galore, a porch that you said you didn't even see, that with the sidewalk going down to the river. But it was, oh my God. When I pulled up, I was like, Daniel, and I didn't have phone service to call you because I was out in the middle of nowhere, but I had to get it done. And that place turned out amazing.
It was probably, and I can't wait to show the people. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. The best before and after pictures. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
So you can use those for websites, social media posts, et cetera, et cetera. And you're 100% right. There was a walkway down to the pond that's attached to the river that I had no clue. It was so, even your before picture, you can't tell. How did you find the sidewalk? I don't get it. Like, did you accidentally blow off one part of the existing and it just appeared?
Kind of. And then when I saw the rail that had like vines and stuff growing over, I was like, why is there a rail there? And that's when I realized, there's steps and there's rocks. Thankfully, there were no moccasins.
Oh my gosh, yes. That would have put the icing on the cake. Now, I knew you were the bee whisperer, the hornet whisperer, the whatever, the yellow
wasp.
Jacket talker guy, whatever. I just know that you're not afraid of much, or you at least don't show it, because
I don't show it.
I have seen you walk all the way up to a hornet's nest and you're just standing next to it as you're doing your promo video.
Yeah. I'll pinch them off and then like hold them.
Yeah. Now that's not me. That's when you need the best, you call JNS. That's what that means. So, absolutely wonderful job. And the house is a different shade. I didn't even know it was that light of a brownish tan. Had no clue. The shingles the loan, because I know you soft wash shingles, you don't pressure wash shingles, saved us a ton of money from not having to just immediately re-shingle the roof. Because most people would just say, oh, no, it's too far gone. Well, when you soft washed it, it like exposed how clean it actually is. It just needed to be brought back to life.
Yeah.
And what it makes me think of is sometimes when your roof is dirty, maybe you just need more preventative maintenance instead of waiting till it's so far gone and dirty and nasty. Like, how often would you suggest someone to consider, like, if they've got that, like a lot of trees around the property, the house is getting dirty often, but how often would you suggest like maintaining?
Well, normally about every 3 years is when a good cleaning is needed, but you can always once a year just put a little bit of a mix up there to kind of help prevent anything from growing.
Now, let's talk about commercial properties, because I've seen some of your jobs recently. You mentioned hot water, and I know they have certain stuff that you have to follow as far as how you clean those. What are some examples around town that you've cleaned, and what's your favorite before and after on the commercial side?
Oh man, so a huge one that we really enjoyed was doing Silver Springs. We had approached Silver Springs, their main entrance out there on 40, and it was just horrible. I mean, it was black as black can be on the bricks in their sign. So we offered to do it for free, because that's a huge staple of Ocala, and that's probably one of my best before and after pictures, because everybody can just relate to seeing that sign and what it represents in the area. We've had the opportunity to do like Cardinal Glass, the big SunTrust building over here that Elvis Presley came to back in his day. I can't think off the top of my head of some of the other big ones. Campus USA, we did their big headquarters up in Jonesville near Gainesville. That was a fun one on a 100-foot crane.
My goodness.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get one of those spray drones. Have you seen that?
I have, but
Is it just
that's a sore subject.
yeah. Dang spray drones.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird. That part I think is more of a fad. So what do you think is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
Family. Being able to spend time with my family. The jobs I've had prior, you work a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, and you have to be there every day. There were many times I wasn't able to go to a little dance practice that was for my daughter's recital. And being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, you have that ability. You can set your own schedule. And as long as as long as it doesn't interrupt other things. But that's probably one of the biggest things, and that's why we did it, was so that our family could spend more time together and do things that we would like to do more often.
That's really good. Now, I've actually had the last 2 or 3 days. I went out to Phoenix to visit my mom and celebrate her 60th.
Oh.
And it brought a lot to the surface. She's been gone out of my life for a long time, and we're trying to also rebuild a lot of that, trying to make up for lost time, so to speak. And it just brought so much to the forefront when it come to how little of time we get.
Yes.
And as entrepreneurs, we work a lot, we provide a lot, but we also have the freedom to make our schedule what it is.
Yeah.
And I find myself many times, and I know a lot of people do this, but we're out there chasing the dollar instead of chasing the freedom of entrepreneurship. We're not just going to do the job and getting back to the house.
Yeah.
We're not always present, when we know we should be.
Right.
And
I think I know where you're going with this.
I just want to know, how do you feel about that?
So I do not do well in that department. In my industry, we get text messages at 9 p.m., sometimes even 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, I most likely won't answer that 3 a.m. one until I wake up, but my mind is 99% of the time business, what my schedule is. And sometimes I do good with, being able to interact with family and things like that. But that's probably one of the biggest problems that I have that me and my wife talk about, because when I get home, and I know you've talked about this before in your podcast, when you're done and you're heading home to be with your wife. So that's kind of, I need to do better in that aspect, because I need to be able to cut the cord when I am home. But I'm so afraid that if I don't answer that text or take that call, that I'm going to miss a job that can put food on the family food on the plate for my family.
Yeah, 100%. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm gonna refer you to. One is called Brobot. It is a software responder. It has a way to reach those people.
Okay.
Not a sponsor, but hopefully in the future they will be. But I've started to utilize some of this when I get home and need to cut the cord, so to speak, and just be there and be present. The other is having a very good voice over IP, a good VoIP system.
Okay.
That will answer the phone and be able to direct them with a lot of their normal questions. If someone's calling you at 9 o'clock, Joe, it can wait.
Yeah.
If they're calling you at 3, it can definitely wait. But, and I apologize, because I've probably been one that texts you at 9 o'clock and said, hey, I got this emergency deal. But my point is, there's a couple of things I want you to check out that has started to help me get home and shut down. Like if I don't get it done in the workday, you got to be willing to, when you walk over the threshold of the door, like, and a lot of great people have said this, and I know I've absorbed it somewhere else. It's not me coming up with this idea, but as the entrepreneur and as a man, as a father, as a husband, when you walk to that door, you need to just pause and take one big breath.
Yeah.
And release the rest of the day. All that stress, all that stuff, all that garbage, all the people, all the nagging, all the keyboard warriors, all the phone calls, and everybody wants to say this and that. You've got to be able to take that breath in and put a smile on your face and walk through that door and be that husband and be that father, because our families don't deserve the stress that we carry. They do not deserve it. They have done nothing but think about us and can't wait till, imagine your daughters, like you can see them right now. Imagine the look on their face when you walk through the door.
Did my wife call you and put you up to this?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because you're hitting, like you are hitting it on the mark. Like, I've walked through that door and my face still shows the stress.
Yeah.
And so all that does is just put the stress onto her.
And she did nothing.
She did nothing.
She did a lot.
Oh yeah. Yes.
No. That's not what we're saying. She did a lot. She is holding the fort down in many ways. But she didn't do anything to deserve our stress.
Yes.
Right? So I thought the same way when I walk home, or when I drive home. Walking that far would be bad. But when I get to the house now, I take one big breath and let it go. No matter how bad the day was. And if you can fix those small things, your wife is going to notice so quick. So I want you to practice that this week.
Yeah.
I can see that it means a lot to you, because as men, a lot of times we can be oblivious.
Yes.
We can kind of miss the boat, miss the mark. And I'm not perfect. What I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you for us. We are having a moment.
Yeah.
We are going to do this today. We are promising our wives and our families. We're going to try our best to provide, but also come home knowing that all you're coming home to is love. And the only reason you got up this morning, the only reason we're even having this podcast right now, is to provide a better quality of life for our families and get back to the house.
Yeah.
Kick back on your favorite chair, have your daughters jumping on your lap and just excited to see you. Man, I just that moment you can see it, and you can see when it's went wrong, and we've all experienced those days. But more importantly, when it's right, it's so much better.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do our best to do that. I appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate the opportunity, man.
You know, I wanted to learn a little bit more about Joel. That's it. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. And if you made it this far, make sure you like and subscribe. You know, this is how we're growing the channel. We want to share stories, just like Joel. I'm sure of it right now. We've got a part 2 and a part 3 in him. There's way more to know. But Joel, I want you to know that I appreciate you being so vulnerable with us and just being so real.
That's the only way to be.
Yeah. So we love you guys. We hope you have a great day. And remember that love wins. Period.